Across the UK.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
With Phil Williams.
So, unsolicited calls, what we're talking about. The consumer group Which says people who have registered with the telephone preference service to try and stop those calls coming through to their homes are actually still getting them, 7 in 10. So is it time to ban cold calls altogether? Or could you be missing out on that life-changing PPI claim? David Freedman is Managing Director of Confero Call Centres. Hi, David.
Hi, Phil.
So how many people do you employ like that in your call centre?
Well, we've got 100 seats in our call centre.
And are they all phoning people
in the UK.
They're all phoning people that haven't asked for the call?
Not at all, actually. No, on the contrary. And to be fair, I have to say, I despise the sort of calls that you just played a minute ago as much as anyone else. And I get them. I get the PPI calls.
Yeah.
I get the claims management calls. And they are generally from unregulated call centres.
And so how does yours differ then?
Very different, actually, because the way that we work is any calls that we ensure that everyone we're calling is on the telephone preference service register. And as per the news articles today and so on, that's a register that people can phone up, put themselves on to stop cold calls if they don't want to receive them.
But, David, sorry to interrupt you. There are pitfalls, aren't there, to this telephone preference service, which is why 7 out of 10 people who've registered for it still receive the calls.
The pitfalls are that it's generally people being called by call centres that actually just flout the regulations, and a lot of it comes from offshore, and we all know the issues with offshore centres. And I've been thinking about this today, having listened and watched some of the stories unfolding, which have come up with this grandiose idea of just banning cold calling. But the issue with that is all it will do is it will stop the regulated call centres, such as ourselves, from making calls to profiled people who should be interested in what we have to offer on behalf of our clients.
So hang on, just explain that to me then. I want to work through it, because what you've said already is that your call centre staff don't make those kind of calls, but you are saying that you do make cold calls. So let's take me as a profile person. What profile would I have to get a call from one of your staff?
Okay, well, it will depend. Confero are an outsourcer, so we work on behalf of different clients who sell anything from financial services products to services for young people and so on. So if it was phoning you, it's not a case of, oh, let's phone Phil tonight. It's a case of, right, we have an investment product for people that are over, I won't insult you, so this is whatever, over
35.
50 years of age,
right,
and have a certain profile of income and job, and then a household with 4 people.
Still a cold call, though, isn't it? It's still someone ringing me up when I'm doing something at home that I don't want to be interrupted in.
Well, the thing is, if cold calling didn't exist, then a lot of people wouldn't actually find out about services and products that are relevant to them.
And what's your success rate, David? Just to demonstrate to me that people actually do respond to cold calling. What's your success rate?
It varies very much, as you can imagine, product to product. But
roughly? So what's your lowest to what's your highest?
Cold calling wouldn't exist if it wasn't successful. So you have to bear in mind that there is a success rate to it. But the issue is how to stop it, I think, and how to stop the unregulated calls from happening. And I think it's a very difficult task. But what isn't being taken to task is the call centres that are flouting regulations, and they're not being attacked. And I totally agree with part of what Which are saying, which is that these centres need to be attacked, and somehow consumers need to have more power to be able to detect where these calls are coming from.
David, let me just place you on hold. Your call is important to us, but I'll be back with you very shortly. Get a word from Nick in Blackburn. Hi, Nick.
Good evening, Phil.
So you signed up to this TPS, the preference service.
I have indeed.
And what happened?
I'm going to say I broadly agree with, is it David?
David Freedman, yeah.
Yeah, I broadly agree with David. I think a lot of the sort of UK calls, the legitimate call centres, it does seem to block that. The calls that I tend to get now are the international calls, the number withheld calls.
Yeah.
And the annoying little, the box thing that you tick to say whether you opt in or opt out, which changes whether you're opting in, you're opting out.
This is flummoxing a lot of people because it differs per website, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
So sometimes you have to unclick to not receive marketing. Other times you have to tick it.
Yeah, you have to read that so carefully. There might be double negatives. Do you want to opt out of our opt-in scheme? And
Nick, just tell me this. Have you ever had a cold call like the one David says his people do? And you've gone, actually, that is quite useful. Yeah, I'll have some of that.
I'm glad you've asked David that question, because as I was sort of thinking through today, have I ever bought anything from cold calling? And I don't think I have. I think, if anything, even if it was a great product, I'd probably be put off by the fact that it's a cold call. And it's interesting that David's avoided your question as to how successful cold calling is for him.
Shall we see if we can push him one more time on the numbers? Come on, David, give me some numbers. Hit me up.
Do you know what? It varies. So you might have
50%, 60%, 70%.
You might speak to 10 people, and if it's a very good offering, one or two will turn into a sale. You might have another product where it's 30 or 40, and you'll get one sale from it. But if you profile well and it's the right audience with the right product.
And I suppose all we have to deduce at the end of the day is that if no one was saying yes to your 100 people, then you wouldn't be on the phone to us tonight, because you'd all be out of a job.
Absolutely right. You know, I think that what needs to happen is the regulators need to come in, and there should be one phrase for every tick box, and it should be the same whether you're on the phone, whether you're filling in a form, whether you're on a website, and so it should be very, very clear so people always know to tick or not to tick.
I've got to cut you off as a managing director of a call centre. It kills me to do it, but it's time for the news. David Freedman, thank you, and thanks from Nick in Blackburn.
First for breaking news and the best live sport.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Genuinely didn't mean that to be rude, by the way. I was genuinely grateful to David for taking part in that debate.